send word up that there are, you know, some drug dealers coming up by train and whatever else? I mean,
there's
how do you find out
tips,
about
and
these things?
there's informants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it may cost you a couple dollars to find different things out. You know, I hate to say it, but there are deals made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're locking somebody up for drugs and stuff like that, it's, you know, working through their sentencing, you're always trying to
To find
get to
other
the higher
people,
level.
you want to get to the highest
That's
level.
it, and
Right.
and work it out from there. And sometimes you just fall upon it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes a vehicle stop and there's a lot of stuff in there, and you start working it from there, and you find out where it's from, and you know, and it's surprisingly, you know, we make a very major crime that we went through Jersey and we ended up in Arizona.
Oh my goodness.
They grow a lot of heroin in Arizona,
so there was
right?
somebody that was coming here, selling from New Jersey.
They were starting in Arizona to New Jersey, coming to Ossining.
Right.
And there was a big circle of, you know, and as you cut one part of it out, another part started up someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody always there to pick up the pieces.
Right.
I think there's a real intolerance in our communities for drugs and drug dealers, and people
How many
are.
times can you repeat the same thing?
Yeah, they are. I mean, most of it's anonymous, and that's fine.
Right.
But I also feel like people who are addicted are upset that they're addicted, and they sometimes feel the need to maybe help somebody behind them so that they don't become addicted, and they'll drop the dime at times, you know, just to prevent what's happened to them from happening to someone else. So it's really, there's a lack of tolerance for drugs.
Right.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It is a full-time job. It really is, right? So what changed with September 11th and our obviously the whole terrorist issue and all of that? How has that kind of changed your life in the department?
Well, for one, there was a lot more money available to us federally to purchase equipment, and that was a positive. Another positive was the increased sharing of information between police departments and federal agencies and county agencies, and we've kind of come together, and I think there's been less of a rivalry and more of a teamwork mentality. It's not perfect, but that's been some of the good. The bad is you know, obvious. People have lost some freedoms, but I think most would give up that freedom to protect the country, and that's part of our goal and mission in Peekskill, although not as on as large a scale as a large municipality like New York City, but you know, again, we all have to work together, and that's what we do.
I think the respect level of law enforcement went up.
Oh, it did.
You know, now it's teetering because of, you know, our Clevelands and Florida and Texas and stuff like that, where one isolated incident is taking it. But overall, I think that they saw all these thousands of people leaving Manhattan and 1,000 police officers going into Manhattan.
Right.
You know, and not even there. I can remember on 9/11 sitting in my office listening to New York City asking for help, and we were sending police officers down there, and then you could see on television that they were getting applauded, and it was like, oh,
yeah.
You know.
I remember driving into Manhattan on September 12th,
Manhattan, you know, the city of lights.
Shift to go work at Ground Zero, and the line of people that were standing by with banners, homemade sandwiches in brown bags. They were handing it out to us.
Right.
Thank you for what you do.
Right.
And it was just the most eerie feeling going into the city of lights that didn't have one light lit. But here were all these people handing out food and thanks and graciousness to us for what we did, or what we do. And, you know, we did it before 9/11. We did it on 9/11. We've done it after 9/11. That's what police... That's what we do. We run into situations where everybody else runs out, and it's unfortunate that it takes such a tragedy
for people to understand
that.
Right, absolutely. So you mentioned too with the federal government getting more funds and so on. So do you think over time that there's just been much more involvement with the federal government, state government, trying to help out with different programs, or is it pretty much the same? That's just we have different kinds of programs.
We do work together more. I mean, we work in task forces, so we're able to multiply our forces, so to speak.
Maybe the communication is so much better
It
that
is.
it makes it so
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
We build relationships and friendships, and we do talk to one another. It's much easier with technology now to talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's helped quite a bit.
Right. And, you know, in the area, I don't know whether this is expanded or not, but the whole area of domestic violence and family issues and so on, are they different than they've been in the past, or is it always the same and we just hear about it differently? Or that's got to be a tough one, going into a house when there's been a problem.
There is.
It is
You know,
dangerous.
Yeah,
it is a dangerous thing because you have we'll just say a husband and wife fighting and stuff like that, and you grab the husband to make an arrest, and all of a sudden you have a wife on the back saying, you know, you just don't understand.
Right.
You know, but you're the one that called us here.
Uh-huh.
Very
Right.
Very emotional.
Right. Yes.
And nobody
right.
knows exactly what they want to do and stuff. And the reporting systems have gotten stricter. The mandatory arrests have gotten stricter, and so the actions are taken more. But it's still a volatile situation that you don't know which way you're going to. And part of my 15-minute interview was been 5 minutes of the present chief telling me about domestic violence, the worst call you can go into.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1967, he was
Right.
telling me a war story about domestic violence.
So it was the same.
It was the same.
Right. That's a family volatile issue. What do you get the most calls on? Do you know? I mean, does it change from year to year or month to month, or you know, like?
It does. It's you know, depending on the season. You know, sometimes towards the end of the school year, we get a lot of calls on youths who are disorderly. Domestic violence is certainly up there. Traffic enforcement is an issue. Noise complaints. I mean, we do everything from a barking dog to you know, violent crime and everything in between.
Right.
4 pages that I looked at and review every month the amount of calls, and there's 4 pages of different types of calls.
Everything. Yeah, you
Right.
can't even classify it.
No.
And some of the ones you just shake your head at.
You have no idea what's coming next. Well, I remember somebody calling my office to get rid of a rabid a skunk that had gone down in a hole. But I wasn't competent in doing something. I don't know who they called next.
We've done it.
Yeah, have you done it? Well, certainly the cat in the tree or whatever else.
You name it, we've done it. There's not too many situations that I've never heard of that one before.
Right.
Most of the time, it's.
Right. So what's the new technology that you have that has been helpful as you go along?
I get the most one that's out there in the press is the body cams that we're using right now. We've been in. I guess this is our 2nd year of using body cams, and we've never had to use it to the negative side of it, but it's always been there.
Notice
We did show it
how
on
Johansson
a very
changes the
positive one time
subject.
when the officers
Just
clicked it
runs
on,
with
he
the
ended up in
same
the
story.
CO atmosphere and
I would
stuff like
never
that.
in
And
a
they made
million years
life-saving on 2 of the
subject.
people that had already collapsed
Oh.
and taken out. It doesn't.
I saw that video. It was just a fascinating video, and it showed exactly what police officers do every day. They run into situations where other people, and in this case they couldn't get out, but brought them to safety.
It's almost too bad that we really don't know. I mean, I'm not really totally involved with what you do because you go along your day and your business, but I can understand what you do. But I think I don't know, how do we tell people enough? Well, this show is one way to do it,
Right.
but you know, for people to really understand what your day is like.
It's difficult to comprehend what we do.
Right.
You know, it's just a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day operation. It's difficult for most people to understand how that works.
Right.
How do you staff that? How do you get the people
Right.
to do it?
I tell people sometimes it's a very depressing job. I says, can you imagine coming to work with a gun, putting it in your locker, and putting
Right.
on a bigger gun,
Right.
putting on a vest, and putting
Right.
all this gear on just to go out to work? And I mean, I realize welders and construction people do the same thing, but it's just a little bit different.
But it can be rewarding. It definitely has its rewards.
Yes, well, we're glad you're all there, and I want to thank both Eric and Joe for being on my program. And,
My pleasure.
you know, I didn't have a chance to, Joe decided at one point he didn't want any more honors, so I brought him a citation. for his 48 years plus of work in policing. And
Thank
I know
you.
he said, no, don't do this. And, but we need to do that. So I thank you both very much. And if you have any questions about what you've heard, please give me a call at 914-941-1111. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.